We are having our favorite segment on Sundays. It's called See It, Skip It, or Rent It. And we have Will Meyer. He's our movie guy with a whole new set of movies for us to cover today. So last week, the weather was the last 2 weeks, obviously. So we've really got to catch up.
That's right, absolutely.
Okay. So Focus is up first.
Yes, this is a new movie. It stars Will Smith. In this movie, a veteran con man played by Will Smith is thrown for a loop when his former lover and protege unexpectedly reappears and interferes with his latest and most dangerous scheme. Will Smith is really good here. He gives a typically charming and charismatic performance. And Margot Robbie here is the lead female, is also really good. She plays a great femme fatale, and I think it's going to be an actress to watch out for. They're a lot of fun to watch together. And this movie is a lot of fun in general. It's slick, it's entertaining, it's nice to look at, but the problem is that this movie too often tries to be smart. It tries to convince us too much that it's anything more than a romantic comedy, and so we have a lot of these laboriously serious romantic scenes that are just kind of empty and feel really forced. Also, it's not necessarily a smart con movie either. It's kind of silly in a way because it's called Focus, and it pretends that if we pay attention we'll be rewarded, but this movie is much more interested in tricking us than it is in rewarding our attention, as there's all these ridiculous plot twists and double crosses. So just because it's unpredictable, that doesn't mean it's clever. So while it may not be smart, though, it's really entertaining and is never a bore, so it's one that I would see, but maybe not in theaters.
Okay, so we're going with Rent It for Focus. Yeah, it's kind of sad because Will Smith hasn't had one in a while.
No.
Okay, so next we have Timbuktu.
Yes, this is a film out of Mauritania. It was actually nominated for Best Foreign Language Film at this year's Academy Awards. It didn't win, but it got a lot of attention, which I think it deserves. This movie takes us into a world that most of us are unfamiliar with and shows us a life we can't imagine as these independent people are subjected to religious extremism. These jihadists come in and enforce all these rules, like women have to wear gloves, you can't listen to music, you can't play soccer, and while it's arbitrary, it's also brutal. I mean, in one particularly heartbreaking scene, you see a teenage girl beaten 80 times with a whip for singing a song in praise of the same God that the jihadists claim to be supporting. So it's ironic, but it's also smart because it doesn't paint these people in black and white. It doesn't deal in absolutes, and it also feels relevant. The message of this movie about the dangers of restricting personal freedom and liberty feel really relevant with everything that's going on in the world right now. So it's moving, but also very timely, so I think it's one you should see.
Wow, okay, so see it for Timbuktu. Obviously, though, it looks like it is very serious and very heavy, so you want to make sure you know that before you go. Okay, McFarland USA is a Kevin Costner movie, right?
Yeah, it's
looks
one of...
to me like it's just the same old Disney sports
That's
film.
what I thought, too. Like, I was really resistant to seeing this movie, but this movie has so much heart that you can't really help but embrace it. It's Disney all the way, but it really is really well done. I think it's as good as, you know, Miracle or Rookie, movies like that. But it's set in 1987 and inspired by actual events. This inspirational sports drama does star Kevin Costner as a high school cross-country coach, one who's determined to shape his predominantly Hispanic team into state champions. And one of the things that elevates this movie is its setting. It really immerses us in Hispanic culture in a way that feels authentic. You know, we follow these young boys as they have to get up at 4 in the morning and go and work for hours before they can even go to school. And also, by spending so much time with these characters, by the time the big race comes, you actually feel really invested in them, and so you can't help but root for them. Costner's good here, too. I mean, this is very much a comfortable role for him. It isn't challenging him in the least, but he pulls it off with ease, and I think gives one of his best performances in recent years. So predictable and not ambitious, but one that's so heartwarming that you can't help but embrace it. So I'd say see it.
Okay, see it, and looks like a good family-friendly one too. So that's good. Okay. Now to the not so family-friendly one that's definitely made headlines: 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
I don't know if this is appropriate for Sunday morning.
Well, yeah, this movie is enormously popular. It's already made, I mean, a ton of money, but I mean, puzzlingly, it's been received negatively by audiences and critics. So my hopes were high for this, but it wasn't the complete train wreck I thought it would be. I thought Dakota Johnson was surprisingly good here, but other than that, it really is pretty bad. The dialogue's laughable, the characters are poorly written, but I'm not saying anything people aren't expecting to hear. People are wanting to see this to see an entertaining guilty pleasure, not a great work of art, but even as an entertaining guilty pleasure, I think it fails. It's they're too interested in selling tickets to show anything too extreme here, and so it's nothing you haven't seen before, and the racy scenes that people are going out to see are really just kind of boring and repetitive, and so this movie fails on most fronts, I think.
All right,
so
we're going to skip 50 Shades of Grey, according to Will Meyer. Okay, next we have Still Alice, and this is one that you know, connects to a lot of people in East Tennessee, especially with Pat Summitt. We're talking about early onset Alzheimer's. So tell us about Still Alice.
Yeah, this is a movie that that deals with Alzheimer's, and one of the unique things about it is it presents Alzheimer's from the victim's perspective rather than family members, which you don't usually see in Alzheimer's films. And this movie follows a college professor who slowly disappears tears in front of her friends, her family, and herself as Alzheimer's disease destroys her mind. And Julianne Moore won an Oscar for her performance in this last week, and she gives an outstanding performance here. She never hits a false note. She never drifts into sentimentality and never overacts. She gives a really controlled and nuanced performance. And this movie is really aggressively sad, but it never goes for the signpost tearjerker moments. Instead, I mean, you just feel the confusion and the frustration of this person through Julianne Moore's nuanced performance as she's having just her life just ripped away from her. So it's really moving and effective. Unfortunately, it's so focused on Alice that many of the other supporting characters here feel kind of one-dimensional, but it's still worth seeing, if anything, just for Julianne Moore's performance. So.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to say see it for that one.
Yes.
Go to theaters to see that one, and it's still out because she won that Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, wow, lots of great movies today. Let's get one last look at the movies. We had 3 or 4 see-its. Yep, we got 3 see-its. 1 rent it, 1 skip it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Will Meyer, for coming in. We appreciate you.
Thanks,
and we'll be right back.